So Arsenal picked up a 2-0 victory over West Brom on Monday night thanks to 2 goals from Alexander Lacazette, with 3 points shooting them up to 7th as they look to get back in the top 4 that eluded them last season. To do so, they're going to need a great squad, so let's look at exactly how deep their squad is by making an Arsenal second team using any gunner that didn't start the Monday night victory over the Baggies. Whereabouts would this team finish in the Premier League? In goal it's David OSPINA. While Petr Cech is a safe pair of hands as the Arsenal number 1, the same can't really be said for David OSPINA, who creates a sense of panic whenever he's in between the sticks at the Emirates. The Colombian is Arsene Wenger's designated cup goalkeeper, which even then was questionable when the Gunners were playing in the Champions League, but OSPINA's small stature means he struggles to impose himself like Petr Cech does, and Arsenal fans will be praying the Czech goalkeeper remains fit. At right back we've got Callum Chambers. Arsene Wenger's been trying to emulate Antonio Conte's 3-4-3 formation, but rather than just hiring anyone as a wing back, we're going with a 4-2-3-1 formation that we used to see at the Emirates. Chambers is the forgotten man at Arsenal, having arrived a few years ago from Southampton for 16 million quid, with Wenger touting him as a future midfield star. The 22-year-old had a decent loan spell at Middlesbrough last season, but doesn't appear to be anywhere near the first team now, whilst failing to secure a move away in the summer. At centre back it's Rob Holding. Another English youngster in the Arsenal second 11, Rob Holding began the season in the first team while Laurent Koscielny was injured, during a time in which Arsenal really couldn't defend. As long as the former Bolton lad is playing as part of a back 3, he won't get caught out too much, but Holding really needs quality around him as he continues to develop, and at 22 years old, he's far from the finished article. Next up it's Per Mertesacker. From a man at the beginning of his Arsenal career to one at the end of his, Per Mertesacker is in his final year at the Emirates as a player, as he prepares to become the head of the club's academy next summer. The big effing German, no F-bombs here, is renowned for his lack of pace, so it's a good job he's got a young pup Rob Holding next to him. But what he lacks in pace, Mertesacker makes up for in experience and an ability to read the game, and like Holding, can be protected in a back 3. At left back we've got Mathieu DEBUCHY. Since the Gunners got rid of Kieran Gibbs, there isn't another natural left back at the club, with Nacho Monreal and Sead Kolasinac occupying slots in Arsene Wenger's first team. So unfortunately for Mathieu DEBUCHY, he's going to have to play in a position he doesn't like for a team that clearly don't want him. The Frenchman was incredibly unable to secure a move away from the club in the summer, as his Arsenal career continues to go from disappointment to disappointment. He must really hate Hector Bellerin. In the middle we've got Santi CAZORLA. Forever injured, it's been far too long since we've seen Santi CAZORLA in an Arsenal shirt, and the Spaniard has been missed ever since, as he'd begun to develop into a competent holding midfielder, dictating the tempo much like Cesc Fabregas used to do. CAZORLA isn't expected to return to action until 2018, meaning the partnership of Ramsey and Xhaka isn't going away anytime soon, whether you love it or you hate it. He's alongside Jack Wilshere. Speaking of permanent sick notes, Jack Wilshere's still an Arsenal player everybody, and he shaved his head to make him look really hard. Now that he's back from his loan spell at Bournemouth and has finished trying to offer out under 23 players while lining up for the Arsenal reserves, Jack Wilshere is back in the mix for the Arsenal first team, sitting on the bench for their 2-0 win over West Brom. A great option for Arsene Wenger, and Wilshere will be praying he can force himself back into the manager's thoughts with a World Cup in Russia on the horizon. On the right wing it's THEO Walcott. Let's be honest, THEO Walcott isn't the player we all thought he was going to be when he joined Arsenal as a 16-year-old. Come January, it'll be 12 years since Walcott left Southampton, and nowadays he can't really get a start at Arsenal, and he's lucky to get in this second team, with Alex Iwobi breathing down his neck. While Wilshere will be hoping to make a case to the England team, Walcott can probably go and book his summer holidays right now while they're cheap. Has Walcott outstayed his time at Arsenal? On the left flank it's Danny Welbeck. That guy Welbs was having a great spell at the start of the season, but like always is now on the injury list, picking up a groin injury against Chelsea, but with a bit of luck he'll be back not long after the international break. An England international, Welbeck has 3 goals and 1 assist so far this season, with former gunner Charlie Nicholas stating that he should start ahead of Alexis Sanchez if he's fit. Not too sure about that one, Charlie. Go back to playing with your earring. Attacking midfield is MESUT OZIL. The German returned to the Arsenal side after a knee injury, but had to settle for coming off the bench against West Brom. Now, was he only on the bench because he's not fully match fit, or can Arsene Wenger no longer afford to carry so many luxury players in his team, i.e. Alexis Sanchez and MESUT OZIL, meaning the Bugs Life enthusiast sits on the bench? We'll see in the coming weeks, but Ozil's reputation has taken a hammering in recent years due to his attitude on the pitch, which means he's no longer the Arsenal top dog alongside Alexis Sanchez. And up front it's Olivier Giroud. He may be the best backup striker in the league, Olivier Giroud is the ultimate substitute and has changed many a game coming off the bench, much to the delight of Arsene Wenger and the displeasure of Giroud, who I'm sure would much rather just start the game to begin with. The French forward gives Arsenal a totally different option coming off the bench, a target man who players can run off and is exceptional in the air, meaning the pressure isn't totally on Alexander Lacazette to get the goals. Giroud certainly fancies himself a bit too much for a man who spends most of his time on the bench, but his beard is glorious. So there it is, the Arsenal second 11. Whereabouts do you think this team could finish in the Premier League? Defensively they don't look solid at all, but their midfield and forward line is full of talent, meaning they'd probably just have to go for the Kevin Keegan Newcastle approach and try and win 4-3 every week. However, I think this team would only finish top of the bottom half, sitting in 11th. So that's our Arsenal second 11. Let us know where you think it would finish in the Premier League in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.